السلام على الظالمين وصلى الله وسلم على رسوله الكريم سيدنا ونبينا به بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته أو كما قال صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وسلم. आवाज आ रही है असल में my own ears are closed so I can't hear myself. Is the mic working? Good. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this deen of Islam to our Prophet Muhammad Arabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam whilst he was in the small city of Makkah in the desert of Arabia. How then did this tahir, pure deen of Islam reach here thousands of miles away, four corners of the world? What were some of the struggles and sacrifices of our pious predecessors? And what is it, if any, our responsibility towards this deen so that it may continue to move forward in the generations after us? This will be our topic for today, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam, this deen of Islam, did not reach us very easily. It did not reach us through social media. It did not reach us through the internet. Islam did not travel throughout the four corners of the world on its own. Rather, the work of this deen was placed on the shoulders of giants from among the Sahaba, the ulama, the mujahideen, the sulaha, the tabi'een. It was they who took the fikr, the work of this deen on their shoulders. They left their homelands, they left their families, they left their livelihoods, they left their comfort, they left everything behind so that me and you could be able to recite the kalima la ilaha illallah today. When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, imagine the Sahaba, they could have just continued living in Medina. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's grave is there. The Sahaba are living among themselves. Masjid al-Nabawi is there. Your salah is multiplied when you pray there. There is already a community that is made, meaning everything was perfect. What was the need for them to leave all of that comfort behind and travel and migrate and leave and struggle and sacrifice? There must have been some reason. There must have been some struggles, some sacrifices. How Islam reached the four corners of the world today. And each of us need to realize it is only through these sacrifices Islam will continue within our generations. So this will be our topic for today, inshallah. Look, my dear brothers and sisters, each of us need to realize in life we truly only value things we work for. Unfortunately, this is how it works. If we do not work for something, we do not value it. For example, those of us who migrated from our countries back home, wherever it may be, wherever we may have come from, we value some of the sahulat, some of the ease that we find in this country. For example, the ability to always have hot water. For example, the ability to always be drinking clean water. Just giving examples. We value some of these things. Why? Because we know where we've come from and what we have now. But as for those kids who were born into these things, who opened their eyes into these things, do not value the ni'mah of drinking clean water. Do not value the ni'mah of always being able to use hot water. Do not value all these gifts and blessings they have around them. Why? When they opened their eyes, they were already there. Such is also the case of Islam. We were, for the majority of us, we were born into Islam. We opened our eyes and there were Muslimin around us. As we were born into this dunya, adhan was given in our ear. We heard the name of Allah as we were born. Isn't it? So, therefore, we didn't really have to struggle or sacrifice for this deen of Islam. Therefore, we don't truly value it the way we should be. Now, what happens is, when you don't value something, what do? You don't appreciate it. You don't give it its due importance. You don't give it its due right. And then, you aren't successful in passing it on to the other generation. So, what we'll do today, inshallah, is time permits some incidents from the lives of our predecessors to draw some inspiration from their lives, and so we can understand what it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for from us. There was one Sahabi, his name was Suhaib ibn Sinan, radiallahu ta'ala. He was originally from Rome, and so he was known as Suhaib al-Rumi, radiallahu anhu. When he migrated to Makkah, and he migrated earlier on, he accepted Islam at the hands of the Prophet ﷺ, and he began to work and live in Makkah and start from scratch. He migrated from Rome, so he left everything behind. Now, Suhaib al-Rumi was a very good blacksmith. He was very skilled in his craft. He was very good at making armor, swords, spears, shields, these types of things. So he began making on his craft, and very soon in the course of a few years, he became a very wealthy man. When Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina, of course the Sahaba migrated after him and before him. Suhaib al-Rumi also left to migrate. Now keep in mind, he was a very wealthy man. He sent his wife, he sent his children to Medina. He packed up shop and he began to migrate. On the way to Medina Munawwara, as he was migrating, some of the bandits from Makkah came to him on the way. They came to him, they surrounded him, and in a bullying type of way, they said, Suhaib, where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going with all that money of yours? We know how much you have. Where do you think we're just going to allow you to leave? And it's a very long incident. I'm summarizing it here for you. Suhaib al-Rumi said, look, I'm clean. You should be happy I'm leaving. I'm going to Medina. I will never come back. They said that you have been given a lot of gold and silver. We will not allow you to leave unless you give us everything you have. Now Suhaib had two options. Either he comes back to Makkah, he lives as a Muslim with his family, and he keeps his wealth, or he sacrifices every last dirham he has to go and be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did he do? He told them, here's my wealth, I have some left in Makkah, you can take. Just let me go and live there in Medina with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They left. Now subhanAllah, as he gave them all of his money, and he is now migrating to Medina, starting from scratch. On the way to Medina Munawwara, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Angel Jibreel to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he goes and he tells the Prophet what just happened. So Suhaib al-Rumi gets to Medina, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is sitting there, and the Sahaba are sitting there around him, and the Prophet sees Suhaib walking from a distance. He sees him walking from far. And the Prophet ﷺ yells out, he says, رَبِحَ الْبَيْعَ يَا أَبَا يَحْيَا. O Suhaib, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved your trade-off you made. Allah loved your trade. رَبِحَ الْبَيْعَ يَا أَبَا يَحْيَا. O Suhaib, Allah loved your trade that you made. You gave your wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve your iman for you and your family. What happened after this? Suhaib al-Rumi ended up having 10 sons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him 10.
All of them were sons.
Each of those sons grew up to be scholars of this ummah. Each of them grew up to be such people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took massive work for the work of this deen. In the 8th year of Hijrah, there was a ghazwa that is called Ghazwa-i-Mu'tah. Ghazwa-i-Mu'tah. Many Sahaba became shaheed in this battle.
The battle had finished. The news had spread that now the Mujahideen are returning home. Obviously, the families were waiting for their husbands and fathers and sons, their brothers. They got ready for their men to return. Asma radiallahu ta'ala anha got ready. She had 2 small children. She showered them, got them ready, put clothes on them, and got them.
And they are now waiting for their father and husband, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, to return. And they're waiting there, excited. They see the Mujahideen returning, and after some time, there's a knock on the door. When she opens the door, it is none other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam standing there. So she is happy to see the Prophet. I felt some easiness in my heart. And so I was scared to ask the Prophet. But she said, I had to ask him, Ya Rasulullah, ayna Ja'far? Ya Rasulullah, where's Ja'far? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed quiet. She said, again I asked, Ya Rasulullah, where's Ja'far? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam began weeping. And tears came from his eyes. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam hugged
and squeezed them tighter. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ustushhida Ja'far. Oh Asma, Ja'far fell shaheed in battle. Ja'far died a martyr in battle. He's not coming back. And Asma radiallahu ta'ala anha began to sob, and the children began to sob and weep and cry. And Rasulullah ﷺ began making dua, Allahumma khlif Ja'faran fi ahlihi, Allahumma khlifu fi tariqatihi. Oh Allah, put barakah in his family, put barakah in Ja'far's wealth, allow it, make it easy for their children. And the Prophet ﷺ many du'as. Then the Prophet ﷺ said to Asma, oh Asma, don't worry. Why? Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala anhu lost both of his arms in battle. But in place of those arms, I saw Ja'far بِجَنَاحَيْنِ يَطِيرُ بِهِمَا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. I saw your Ja'far, in place of his 2 arms, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him 2 wings, and I saw Ja'far roaming in Jannah. Some Sahabi is buried in Turkey, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Haram is buried in
and stories of struggles, sacrifices, these Sahaba made. Asal sawal ye, why did they make these sacrifices? Why? It was so deen could continue within their progenies to come. We need to realize Islam is not something that is passed on in your DNA. Each of us needs to understand this. Islam is not in your DNA. It's going to be passed on to your child. It's going to be passed on to their child. It's going to be passed on to their child. Islam is a gift from Allah. Ni'matun min ni'amillah. There is something we have to be doing for Islam to continue in our generations. Khud ba khud, Islam is not going to continue on its own. I am Muslim. My children are Muslim. Therefore, when they have children, they will be born a Muslim. When they have children, this is not the way it works. Islam is a gift from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves it for those who value it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes it away from those who do not value it. Those who sacrifice for it. Those who struggle for it. Those who leave something behind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala values it and keeps it in their generations. We need to realize the importance at hand. We need to realize the severity of the matter at hand. Let me tell you all something. Without exaggeration, there is a growing number of Muslim kids rather. There is a growing number of Muslim kids today, in today's day and age, who do not identify as Muslim. Wallahi, there are a growing number of kids today whose parents are Muslim. These kids pray salah. They fast in the month of Ramadan. But they do not identify as Muslim. They do not. And they simply do not come out exposing themselves out of the fear of backlash. What will my dad say? What will my mom say? What will my family say? What will my community say? Out of the fear of all these things, they don't come out and openly say this. But they really do not identify. They themselves don't even understand why they have to do these things. They just do it because if they don't do it, they fear a lot of backlash and face and answer lots of questions. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong as parents? We like to connect with our kids on every topic and interest of theirs. Why? You see your teenage son growing up, you see
They're getting older. Obviously, you don't want them to get distant from you. Now you realize you have to start relating to them on something. What do?
You will sit with them. If their interest is cars, you will have conversations with them on cars. If their interest is restaurants, you will sit with them and talk about different types of foods and restaurants. If their interest is something else, vacation spots, destination spots, nature, whatever it is, you will engage with them on these things. You will try to befriend them. You will try to do whatever you can. How much concern do we have for our deen and our children's deen and iman?
How often do we sit with them?
How lucky we are to have this deen of Islam. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. What is the purpose from this life? Who was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What is the importance of emulating him? So on and so forth. You can do this experiment right now, after Jummah. If you are to go to a high school or a college, you can try this yourself. Go, see a lot of the non-Muslim kids there. A lot of them will be Christian. If you are to ask a lot of them, so what are you? A lot of them say,
my
parents are Christian. They themselves will not say, I am a Christian. They fully don't believe in it themselves. But what will they say? Yeah, my parents are Christian. They're pretty practicing. They're Mormon. They're this and that.
We are now reaching a point where Muslim kids are having that same answer. Where when someone asks them, so what are you?
They say, my parents are Christian. Now, when we are now in such a society, we have people who are not even comfortable saying their name. Associate them with Islam. We have people now who would rather just beat around the bush so others don't have to associate and link this person to Islam. We are now reaching that point where the next generation is not too comfortable with associating themselves with Islam. Soon, such a zamana will come upon the people. يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ. Such a time will come upon my ummah. لا يبقى من الإسلام إلا اسمه ولا يبقى من القرآن إلا واسمه مساجدهم عامرة وهي خراب من الهدى. The Prophet said, a zamana will come on my ummah. لا يبقى من الإسلام إلا اسمه. Nothing will remain of Islam except for its name. Nothing will remain of the Quran إلا رسمه, except for its text. What does that mean? Nothing will remain of Islam except for its name. What does that mean? That means that the label will remain. Islam will remain. The label Musalman will remain. Islam will remain. The ruh of Islam will be gone.
The essence of Islam will be taken away. The text of the Quran will remain. We will find the Mus'haf here. The in-depth meaning of that, and those who hold that meaning, Allah Ta'ala will take them away. Masajiduhum amira. The Prophet said, when that zamana will come, when that time will come, their masajid will be full. وَهِيَ خَرَابٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى. But there will be not an ounce of hidayat left within that congregation. My dear brothers and sisters, if we don't understand, our future generation's iman is in khatra. Our future generations' iman, we leave it up to Allah. What else can we say? We are not, some of us years ago. We have such fitan, such fitna, such trials, such tribulations in our time that no one could have thought of these things 30, 40 years ago. Is it not? We are dealing with such fitna. Our children are growing up having to deal with such fitnas. We did not have to see these growing up. And it will only continue to get worse. It will only continue to get worse. The Prophet ﷺ said, when these fitan will arise, fitanun tamuju kamawj al-bahr, these fitan, they will come like the waves of the ocean. If you go to the beach and you see the waves in the ocean, one wave does not return unless a new wave begins.
That is how the fitan will come. One wave will not die down. The Prophet said those times will be such, fitan yuraqiqu ba'daha. Those fitan will be such, one fitna will come. It will be a massive fitna. The Prophet said a person will be in the midst of this fitna, he will say,
this fitna, I've never seen the like. Fitna, ثم تنكشف. That fitna, he will say, هذه مهلكتي. No, this fitna will be my destruction. Then that will die down. Every fitna that comes will be greater than the one before. And it will continue this way. What do you think will be the state of our grandchildren and their children's iman? If this is our state,
you can read about it, but it's something that needs to be said. Each of us need to be
for our Ta'ala praises Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam,
saying that the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was on his deathbed. وَوَصَّى بِهَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ بَنِيهِ وَيَعْقُوبُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Prophet Ibrahim, he called his sons, and he called his grandson, Yaqub. And what did he say to all of them? يَا بَنِيَّ إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى لَكُمُ الدِّينَ فَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. He said, oh my sons, oh my grandchildren, I am concerned for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen this deen for you. لَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Make sure when you are leaving this world, you leave with the kalim on your tongue. وَوَصَّى بِهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَمْ كُنْتُمْ شُهَدَاءَ إِذْ حَضَرَ يَعْقُوبَ الْمَوْتُ. Then when Yaqub was passing away, and he was on his deathbed, he gathered all of his sons, and he said, مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِنْ بَعْدِي. Who will you worship after me? They said, نَعْبُدُ إِلَهَكَ وَإِلَهَ آبَائِكَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ وَإِسْحَاقَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا. We will worship Allah and only Allah. Each of these prophets, when they were leaving this world, what was their concern? Their concern wasn't, am I leaving enough wirasat behind for my kids? Am I leaving enough wealth behind? Each of us, slave, we work day in and day out. When someone asks us, why are you working so hard? Jawab mein kya milta hai? What do we say? We say, well, I'm leaving this behind for my kids. I am behind for my kids. All of this is for my kids. We work years and years so that when we pass away, our kids don't have to go and open their hand in front of others. Is it not? This is why we work. We are so concerned for our kids. We're concerned for their dunya, their rizq. We're not concerned for their akhirah. Allah Ta'ala has taken responsibility for their rizq. What Allah didn't take responsibility for is their akhirah. Did Allah Ta'ala take zimmedari, responsibility for Jannah? For any of us?
Sound quality was very good.
No. The one thing Allah did not take responsibility of is the thing that we don't care about. We act as if our spot, our children's spot, our grandchildren's spot in Jannah is guaranteed. The one thing Allah did take responsibility for, which is the rizq, that is the one thing we are the most concerned. There needs to be a shift. There needs to be a shift. Each of us needs to realize the severity of the matter at hand. Remember, Islam is not in our DNA again. It's not going to just pass on its own. Unless we do something about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take it away and give it to those who will value it. This has always been sunnat Allah. This has always been the system of Allah. If you look at nubuwwat, if you look at ilm, the work of this deen, I can give you many examples, but time is limited. If you are to look into our tariq and our history, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always had this one nizam of this one system, that Allah ta'ala gives someone a gift. As long as they value it, Allah ta'ala keeps it with them. As soon as they begin to lose value, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes it away, gives it to those who lose value. We are concerned for our children, dunyawiyas, in terms of their dunya. And we should be. We should be even more concerned for their akhirah. We should be even more concerned for their standing in front of Allah. There are steps that need to be taken. There is something that needs to be done. There is something we need to be doing so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow Islam to continue within our generations. Khud ba khud, it will not happen on its own. What are those steps? Remember, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, لَن يُضِيعَ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنْكُمْ. Allah Ta'ala does not waste anyone's sacrifice. Allah Ta'ala does not waste anyone's hard work. We've worked for this dunya, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave it to us. If someone works for something, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gives them that which they are working for. Allah Ta'ala does not waste anyone's amal. Allah Ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. That if there are those who strive in our path, we will guide them. We will show them the way. The Mufassirin say, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, when He says this, لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ, we will guide them, means we will guide them and their families and their progenies to come. Remember, Islam is an amana. It is a trust. Look, if I give you a trust, let's say I give you a car. I say here, drive 2 weeks, it's an amana. Take this, enjoy, bring it back. What am I expecting from you after 2 weeks? When you bring this car back to me, if you bring this car back dented, crashed, dirty, and in just a completely different state than I had given it to you, did you fulfill the haqq of that amana? No. You should have brought that amana back to me the way I gave it to you. Then you would have fulfilled it. Islam is also an amana. It's a trust from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us parents. Allah ta'ala gave us our children. They are an amana. Our deen is an amana. There is some responsibility that comes with this. What is that responsibility? That we pass this deen on to the next generation as best as we can, as far as we can. And they continue to do the same, so Islam continues this way. What are some of the steps that we can be taking in order for Islam to be preserved in our generations to come? So we'll go through this next time, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah ta'ala keep this deen of Islam dying and dying in our generations to come. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it such that when it is our time to go, their children's time to go, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to leave this dunya with the kalima la